All right. Hold up. Chapter 20. First half of fourth period continued. Marcion, AD 145. Marcion, the great Hessararch, was born at Sinope in the 2nd century. He came to Rome about the year 142. Tertullian says that the fiercest and most barbarous nations lived upon the Euxine Sea, that nothing had the glow of life there, that all things were torpid and stiff with cold, that nevertheless nothing in Pontus was so barbarous and sad as that Marcion was born there. Dr. Lardner, on the authority of Jerome and Augustine, credits Marcion with being a man of letters. He preached and disseminated his doctrines for 20 years, and with such success that in the time of Epiphanius his followers were in every nation under heaven. The story that before he came to Rome he had seduced a young woman, Dr. Lardner thinks an invention of Epiphanius. It probably originated in the fact, which we learn from Jerome, that Marcion had sent before him to Rome a woman to prepare the minds of the people for his doctrines. Marcion is said to have rejected the Old Testament entirely, not considering it of any authority after the coming of Christ. He wrote a work entitled Antithesis, in which he contrasted the old system with the new, the God of the one with the God of the other, the law with the gospel. He represented Christianity as a new system, abrogating the old and as entirely disconnected from it. The creator of the world described in the Old Testament, the Demiurgus, was different from the God of the new dispensation and inferior to him. From the superior God, Jesus had come, endued with divine power, commencing with the beginning of his ministry. He maintained the doctrine of the impurity of matter and could not therefore believe in the Immaculate Conception. According to Tertullian, he even denied the corporal reality of the flesh of Christ, but this statement may be received with some allowance. Marcion denied the resurrection of the body and believed in the doctrine of necessity. He was a follower of Paul and accused the other apostles of having perverted the gospel doctrines. Tertullian ingeniously endeavors to treat this accusation as aimed at the four gospels and argues thence they must have been in existence before Marcion. His argument, however, destroys itself, since the apostles denounced were Peter, James, and John, only one whom has credit for writing either of the four gospels, while to the other two were attributed two of the apocryphal gospels. Marcion probably referred to the corruption of the gospel and not to any written books. Marcion taught and permitted the baptizing by women. It may be inferred also from Epiphanius that he did not treat with much respect those who refused them this privilege. Marcion's New Testament. The first New Testament that ever appeared was compiled and published by Marcion. It was in the Greek language. It consisted of the Gospel and the Apostolicon. No Acts, no Revelation, and but one Gospel. The Apostolicon comprised 10 of Paul's epistles as follows: Galatians, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Romans, except the 15th and 16th chapters, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, Ephesians, Colossians, Philemon, and Philippians, arranged in the order as here named. This canon of the New Testament was prepared and published soon after his arrival at Rome, probably around AD 145. Baring Gould thinks he brought the gospel with him from Sinope. Tertullian accuses Marcion of giving no name or title to his gospel. It was called simply the gospel, and sometimes the gospel of the Lord. Marcion claimed for it the authority of Paul himself. It closely resembles the gospel of Luke, but is much shorter. Ever since the time of Tertullian, it has been by many charged against Marcion that he corrupted the gospel of Luke. This charge, it will be seen as we proceed, cannot be sustained. Nearly all we have concerning the gospel of Marcion comes through Tertullian and Epiphanius, both of whom were violently opposed to him, and neither of whom was particularly scrupulous in the means employed against an adversary. Hence, it has become difficult to reproduce the gospel. Several German critics have attempted to reconstruct it, and it is published in the Codex Apocryphus of Thilo from the works of Han. In Marcion's Gospel, there was nothing corresponding to the first 3 chapters of Luke. The first chapter of Marcion was similar to the 4th of Luke, but had many variations from it. And it is here that the critics have had the most difficulty. After passing the first chapter of Marcion and the 4th of Luke, the progress is somewhat easier. Tertullian furnishes but little aid, but Epiphanius, writing in the same language with Marcion, gives a list of 78 passages in which, as he claims, Marcion corrupted the text of Luke. As he mentions, the most trivial deviations, giving the exact words in every instance, we think it might be taken as the correct text of Marcion. This opinion is confirmed by the fact that in his Scholia he recapitulates every reading in almost precisely the same words, the deviations being few and unimportant. Tertullian, in his work against Marcion, has a running commentary on Luke with a constant invective against Marcion and an occasional allusion to his gospel. From this, some little further assistance may be obtained. Too much reliance has been placed upon it by some critics, as it is quite uncertain in many cases whether Tertullian is referring to the Gospel of Marcion or to the text of Luke, as it prevailed in his day. By comparing all that is said by these 2 writers, the text of Marcion may be pretty nearly discovered. We have not been able to procure a copy of this important gospel as it appears in Thilo or elsewhere. From the works of Tertullian and Epiphanius, we have, however, attempted to reproduce it, occasionally invoking the aid of some of the German critics. The Gospel, according to Marcion, chapter 1, mostly in the 4th chapter of Luke. In the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, part of Luke 3:1, Jesus came down to Capernaum, a city of Galilee, and taught them on the Sabbath days. Luke 4:31, verse 2. And they were exceedingly astonished at his doctrine, for his word was with power. For parallel with verses 2 to 9 inclusive, see Luke chapter 4, version 32 to 39. I might read those, I might not. 3. And in the synagogue there was a man who had a spirit of an unclean devil, and who cried out with a loud voice, saying, Let us alone, that we have what we have to do with these Jesus, omitting the words of Nazareth. Art thou come to destroy us? I know thee, who thou art, the Holy One of God. And Jesus rebuked him, saying, Hold thy peace, and come out of him. And when the devil had thrown him in the midst, he came out of him, and hurt him not. And they were all amazed, and spake among themselves, saying, What a word is this! For with authority and power he commandeth the unclean spirits, and they came out. And the fame of him went out into every place in the country round about. This verse is omitted by Volkmer, but retained by Hahn, Hengfeld, and others. See Sup. Rel. Volume 2, page 128. Nope. Barring Gold, who reproduces his chapter, follows Volkmer. The 2 following verses are omitted by Rischel and Bauer, but retained by others. 8. And he arose out of the synagogues, Gog, and entered into Simon's house. And Simon's wife's mother was taken with a great fever, and they besought him for her. And he stood over her and rebuked the fever, and it left her. And immediately she arose and ministered unto them. And he came to Nazareth, and as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and began to preach to them. And he sat down, and the eyes of all who were in the synagogue were fastened on him. And he began to speak to them, and all bare him witness, and wonder at the gracious words which proceeded out of his mouth. And he said unto them, Ye surely will say unto me this proverb, Physician, heal thyself. Whatsoever ye have done in Capernaum, do also here. The next, I don't know if I should read the parentheses. So I've been skipping them for a second, so I'm going to keep skipping them, because you can read them up on that screen. Yeah. And all they in the synagogue, when they heard these things, were filled with wrath, and rose up and thrust him out of the city, and led him to the brow of the hill whereon their city was built, that they might cast him down headlong. But he, passing through the midst of them, went his way. Now, when the sun was setting, all they that had any sick with divers disease brought them unto him, and he laid his hands on every one of them and healed them. And the devils also came out of many, crying out and saying, Thou art Christ, the Son of God. And he, rebuking them, suffered them not to speak, for they knew that he was Christ. And when it was day, he departed and went into a desert place, and the people sought him and came unto him, and stayed him that he should not depart from them. And he said unto them, I must preach the kingdom of God to other cities also, for therefore am I sent. And he preached in the synagogues of Galilee. Chapter 2, see Luke. Chapter 5, verses 1 to 13, same as the Gospel of Luke. And he charged him to tell no man, but go and show thyself to the priest, and offer for thy cleansing, according as Moses commanded, for a testimony unto you. Verses 15 to 39 inclusive, same as in Luke. All right, chapter 3, Luke. Chapter 6, verses 1 to 16, same as in Luke. All right, I got it. So you're gonna have to let me figure that out. So we're comparing and contrasting Luke. It takes me a second to pick up on this. So I'm going to read these. I'm going to read the parentheses. I'm not going to go back and redo the ones I missed, because they should be up on the screen. I hate stopping in the middle of my readings to explain anything, and I hate editing. So this is the way it goes. Chapter 3, Luke. Chapter 6, verses 1 to 16, same as in Luke 17. And he came down among them en autos, and stood in the plain, and there was the company of his disciples, and a great multitude of people out of all Judea and Jerusalem, and from the sea coast of Tyre and Sidon, who came to hear him, and to be healed of their diseases. 18, same as in Luke. 19, and the whole multitude sought to touch him. 20, 21, and 22, same as in Luke. 23, rejoice ye in that day, and leap for joy, for behold, your reward is great in heaven, for in the like manner did your fathers unto the prophets. 24 to 49 inclusive, same as in Luke. Chapter 4, Luke. Chapter 7, verses 1 to 28, same as in Luke, except some unimportant verbal differences. Verses 29 to 35 inclusive of Luke, not Marcion. 29, 36 of Luke. And going into the house of the Pharisee, he ate with him. 30, 37 to 38 of Luke. But a sinful woman standing near before his feet washed his feet with her tears, and anointed them and kissed them. 31 to 35 inclusive, same as 39 to 43 of Luke. 36, 44, 45, and 46 of Luke. And he turned to the woman and said unto Simon, Seest thou this woman? I entered into thy house. Thou gavest me no water for my feet. She has washed my feet with her tears, and has anointed them and kissed them. 37 to 40 inclusive, same as 47 to 50 of Luke. Chapter 5, Luke. Chapter 8, verses 1 to 18 inclusive, same as in Luke. Verse 19, Luke, not in Marcion. 19, 20, and 21 inclusive, same as 20, 21, 22 of Luke. But Volkmar has in verse 20 of Marcion, 21 of Luke. Who is my mother, and who are my brethren? My mother and my brethren are, etc. 22, 23, and 24 of Luke. He was sleeping with the sailors, and he arose and rebuked the wind and the sea. 23 to 40 inclusive, same as 25 to 42 of Luke. 41, 43, 44, and 45 of Luke. And a woman touching him was healed, and an issue of blood, and the Lord said, Who has touched me? 42 to 52 inclusive, same as 46 to 56 of Luke. Chapter 6, Luke. Chapter 9, verses 1 to 15 inclusive, same as in Luke. 16, same as in Luke, except he asked blessing upon them. Ep autos. 17 to 21 inclusive, same as in Luke. 22, saying the Son of Man must suffer many things and be put to death. Did I skip a page? Sure didn't. Saying the Son of Man must suffer many things and be put to death, and after 3 days rise again. 23 to 29 inclusive, same as in Luke. 30, and 31 of Luke. And behold, 2 men talked with him, Elias and Moses in glory. 31 to 33 inclusive, same as 32 to 34 of Luke. 34, 35 of Luke. From the cloud, a voice saying, "This is my beloved son." I hate doing that because it doesn't read like, what's the word? It doesn't read like a story. But if you're breaking something down, I don't see any other way to do it. So, yeah, what was the cloud? This is my beloved son. 35 to 38 inclusive, same as 36 to 39 of Luke. 39, 40 of Luke. And I besought thy disciples, and they were not able to cast him out. I don't know what that says. 40, 41 of Luke. And he said to them, O faithless generation, how long shall I suffer you? 41 to 61 inclusive, same as in 42 to 62 of Luke. Chapter 7, Luke chapter 10, verses 1 to 20 inclusive, same as in Luke 21. In that hour he rejoiced in the Spirit and said, I thank thee, Lord of heaven, that those things which were hidden from the wise and prudent thou hast revealed unto babes. Even so, Father, for it seemed good in thy sight. 22. And all things are delivered to me of my Father, and no man hath known the Father save the Son, nor the Son save the Father, and he to whom the Son hath revealed. 23 and 24, same as in Luke. 25. And behold, a certain lawyer stood up and tempted him, saying, Master, doing what shall I obtain life? Ionian omitted. He said unto him, What is written in the law? 27 and 28, same as in Luke, except that instead of orthos aperkethes, Marcion had orthos eps. 29 to 42, inclusive, same as in Luke. Chapter 8, Luke chapter 11, verse 1, same as in Luke. 2. And he said unto them, When ye pray, say, Father, may thy Holy Spirit come to us, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so on earth. 3 and 4, same as in Luke. 5. And he said, Which of you shall have a friend, and shall go unto him at midnight, asking for 3 loaves? Verses 6, 7, and 8 of Luke, not Marcion. 6, 9 of Luke. Ask, and it shall be given. Verse 10 of Luke, not Marcion. 7, 11, and 12 of Luke. Who of you, being a father, if his son ask a fish instead of a fish, will give him a serpent, or instead of an egg, a scorpion? 8, 13 of Luke. If therefore you, being evil, know how to give good things unto your children, how much more your Father who is in heaven? 19 to 23 inclusive, same as 14 to 28 of Luke. 24, 29 of Luke. And when the people were gathered thick together, he began to say, This is an evil generation. They seek a sign. No sign shall be given them. Verses 30, 31, and 32 of Luke, not Marcion. 25 to 33 inclusive, same as 33 to 41 of Luke. 34, 42 of Luke. Woe unto you, Pharisees, for ye tithe mint and rue and all manner of herbs, and pass over the calling and the love of God. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. 35 to 40 inclusive, same as 43 to 48 of Luke, verses 49, 50, and 51 of Luke, not Marcion. 41, 42, and 43, same as 52, 53, and 54 of Luke. Chapter 9, Luke, chapter 12, verses 1, 2, and 3, same as in Luke. 4, 4, and 5 of Luke. I say unto you, be not afraid of them who kill the body, fear him who has power after killing to cast into hell. Verses 6 and 7 of Luke, not Marcion. 5, 8 of Luke. Also I say unto you, whosoever shall confess me before men, him shall the Son of Man also confess before God. 6, 9 of Luke. But he that denieth me before men shall be denied before God. 7 to 24 inclusive, same as 10 to 27 of Luke. Verse 28 of Luke, not Marcion. 25, same as 29 of Luke. 26, 30 of Luke. For all these things do the nations of the word seek after, and your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things of the flesh. 27, 31 of Luke, plean before zitite, omitted. 28, 32 of Luke. Instead of ho pater human, Marcion had ho pater, the Father. 29 to 30 inclusive, same as 33 to 37 of Luke. 34, 38 of Luke. And if he shall come in the evening watch, Hesperian, Philakine, and shall find them, so blessed are those servants. Damn, I said that wrong. And if he shall come in the evening watch, and shall find them, so blessed are those servants. 35 to 41 inclusive, same as 39 to 45 of Luke. 42, 46 of Luke. The Lord of that servant will come and will cut him in sunder and will appoint his portion with the unbelievers. 43 to 53 inclusive, same as 47 to 57 of Luke. 54, 58 of Luke. Instead of se parado, Marcion has parodesi se. 55, same as 59 of Luke. Chapter 10, Luke chapter 13. Verses 1 to 10 of Luke, not Marcion. Verses 1 to 5 inclusive, same as 1 to 15 of Luke. 6, 16 of Luke. Ought not this daughter of Abraham, whom Satan hath bound, lo, these 18 years, be loosed from this bond on the Sabbath day? 7 to 17 inclusive, same as 17 to 27 of Luke. 18, 28 of Luke. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth when ye shall see all the righteous in the kingdom of God, and yourselves cast out and held back. Verses 29 to 35 of Luke, not Marcion. Chapters 11. Luke chapter 14. Verses 1 to 6 inclusive, same as in Luke. Verses 7 to 11 inclusive of Luke, not Marcion. 7 to 30 inclusive, same as 12 to 35 of Luke. Chapter 12, Luke chapter 15. This chapter consisted of the first 10 verses only of 15th Luke. Chapter 8, Luke chapter 16, verses 1 to 11 inclusive, same as in Luke. 12. And if ye have not been faithful in that which was another man's, who will give you that which is mine? 13 to 16 inclusive, substantially the same as in Luke. 17. Heaven and earth may pass, but one tittle of my words shall not fail. 18 to 28 inclusive, substantially the same as in Luke. 29. In place of the last 3 verses of the 16th Luke, Abraham saith unto him, they have Moses and the prophets, let them hear them. Not after one has risen from the dead will they listen. Yeah, I think that's going to be good. I think that's where I want to stop. Let me get my pencil. And that is how that chapter will go. And I put in, I just started adding like the whole book in there. Especially like looked at it and I was like, you know what, that's what I'm going to do. You know, like it, tell me. I know I read this like a blubbering idiot, but this is true to form. So, you know, I tend to figure it out a little bit as I go. And this is a long chapter, so bear with me.